pivot table is one of the most powerful tools in Excel for data aggregation and analysis. It allows users to summarize, analyze, and present large datasets in a clear and efficient way. With just a few clicks, we can transform raw data into meaningful summaries that reveal key insights and trends. Grouping data. In a pivot table, we can group data by criteria such as month, quarter, year, region, or product. Grouping helps us analyze patterns over time or compare the performance of different categories. For example, we can see monthly sales trends or compare product sales across regions. Calculations in pivot tables. Pivot tables can automatically calculate key indicators such as sum, average, count, or even percentage. This automation saves time and reduces the risk of errors compared to manual calculations. Dynamic filtering. One of the most useful features of pivot tables is dynamic filtering. It allows us to filter and drill down into specific parts of the data. Pivot charts. Pivot charts are visual representations of pivot table data. They are directly linked to the table, meaning they update automatically when the data changes. This makes it easy to visualize comparisons, trends, and relationships in your dataset in real time. To create a pivot table, go to the Insert tab and choose Pivot Table. Select your data range, then choose where to place the table, either in a new worksheet or the current one. This tool allows you to drag and drop fields into rows, columns, and values to summarize data instantly. A pivot table is built using 4 main areas. Filters allow us to display only specific parts of the data. For example, we can filter by year or product category to focus on a subset of information. Rows show how data is categorized vertically, such as listing each product, region, or department. Columns display data categories horizontally, often used to compare across different periods or segments. Values are the numbers or calculations we want to analyze, for example, total sales, average revenue, or count of transactions. By organizing data into these 4 areas, pivot tables make it easy to summarize, compare, and explore information interactively. To make your pivot table more interactive, you can insert a slicer. Go to Insert and choose Slicer. Slicers act as visual filters that make it easy to filter data by category. Users can simply click buttons to filter and instantly update the pivot table. To insert a pivot chart, place your cursor inside the pivot table, go to Pivot Table Tools, and select Pivot Chart. Then choose the type of chart you want, such as column, bar, or line chart. The chart will dynamically update as your pivot table changes. Excel also allows you to create a pivot table from multiple tables. This is especially useful when your data is stored across several sheets. For example, order, customer, and product tables. You can combine them into a single pivot table using relationships. To create a pivot table from multiple sheets, you first need to convert each data range into a table. Start with the order sheet. Select the data range, press Ctrl+T, check My Table has headers, click OK. In the Table Design tab, rename it to Order. Repeat the same steps for the customer and product sheets to create customer and product. Once all sheets are formatted as tables, you can link them in the data model and build a pivot table that combines data from all 3 tables. To link multiple tables, you need to define relationships. Go to the Data tab and select Relationships. For example, you can connect the order and customer tables using the Customer ID field, and the order and product tables using Product ID. Once relationships are set, Excel treats them as one connected dataset. To create a pivot table from many tables, make sure all your data ranges have been converted into tables and added to the data model. Then go to the Insert tab and select Pivot Table. In the dialog box, choose Use this workbook's data model to combine data from multiple tables. Click OK, and in the Pivot Table Fields pane, drag fields from different tables like customer name, product name, and total amount to build a pivot table that summarizes data from all related tables. To make your pivot table more interactive, you can add slicers or a timeline. Go to Pivot Table, Analyze, Insert Slicer or Insert Timeline. After inserting, select Report Connections or Pivot Table Connections to link the slicer or timeline to one or more pivot tables. You can also right-click on the slicer or pivot table, choose Report Connections, select the pivot tables you want to connect. Now, your slicer or timeline will filter all connected pivot tables at once.